Hey, what's up, YouTube? I just heard a funny story about a pastor named Kaltenbach of Discovery Church in Simi Valley, California, and he got upset because he was browsing the book section in Costco, and he saw that the Bible was labeled fiction on the price tag, and he was upset that his book of fairy tales had a fiction sticker on it. And then this incident became a huge controversy where the corporate headquarters of Costco actually apologized for the incident, and he tweeted, this is some of his tweets that he said, and then this pastor went on to go tweet saying Costco has Bibles for sale under the genre fiction. Like he was still in disbelief of the labeling of these Bibles. And he said he was completely offended, it was wrong, and I believe that the Bible is real. It caused a lot of controversy. It caused a lot of conversation, which I think conversation is good. And then they had this this local news station go to, I think, the area around Costco and ask the people, what do you think about it? And they were shocked too. They were like, oh my goodness, I can't believe Costco just labeled our book fiction. I think it's real. I believe it's the Word of God and blah, blah, blah. And now this is what I'm talking about. Christians constantly think they're being oppressed. Either it be taking school-led prayer out of schools, or teachers leading prayer in schools out of schools, and making it so the government can't endorse a particular religion while they still make up 80% of the population. They somehow think that anything that says, oh, we don't believe in that, is offensive to them, such as when the one Oklahoma I think it was a hurricane or tornado victim said, oh, I'm an atheist, and people were just outraged by it. And I'm like, it's like, there's still another 20% of the population who believes in other stuff. So it's just shocking that people can just be so outraged by something so trivial. Now I'm going to give you the Webster's dictionary definition of fiction. The definition is: written stories about people and events that are not real. Literature that tells stories which are imagined by the writer. And then this is the Webster's dictionary definition of nonfiction: writing that is about facts or real events. All writing that is not fiction. Now I'm going to explain why the Bible is a work of fiction. Probably for the 100th time. I have been explaining stories to Christians for quite a bit of time now, and it seems like it's to no avail. They don't see the reason and logic behind it. But first off, let's start with the Noah's Ark story, because that's definitely a very interesting one, to say the least, to talk about. So the Noah's Ark story is basically about a guy named Noah who was 600 years old, who put every species of animal on a boat 400 feet long with enough food to last 40 days and 40 nights. Pause. A 600-year-old man. Right off the bat, that should just be like, yeah, it's made up. We know, if you don't have your head up your ass, that the oldest person ever lived was in their 120s. And we all know that people that lived thousands of years ago didn't even live a fraction of the longevity that we have today. So to say that this person was 600 years old is pretty much a lie, or it's just not true. Also in this story, it says that he was able to put every species of animal on a boat 400 feet long. Now 400 feet is a football field and a third of a football field, which is quite a large boat for people in those times. But even with that size of a boat, it would be nearly impossible. It would be impossible for them to fit that many animals on a boat, unless you shrunk them down to maybe this small and had them in pokeballs. Maybe then he could fit them on the boat. But for them to have that many animals, I mean, he would have to travel from Australia. He would have to travel to the Arctic. I mean, there's different climates that these animals live in. If you take them out their natural habitats, they die. You can't put a polar bear in a desert. It's just like you can't put a camel in in the northern part of Canada. It would die. They're just not suited for that kind of habitat. So how he was able to make probably these geospheres of habitats on this boat 400 feet long thousands of years ago, God works in mysterious ways. But continuing, he also had enough food for these animals. Now that's a lot of food. If you ever look at the statistics and not statistics, but the logistics that goes into feeding animals in zoos, you'll see that even if he did fit all those animals on a boat that long, even if he had another boat that was 400 feet long, there would not be enough food to feed that many animals on that boat. And then it also says in the Bible that every point, every peak, every mountain, everything was covered. So the highest point on this planet is Mount Everest, which is about 29,000 feet above sea level. So if you melt every glacier, melt both the polar ice caps, the maximum rising of the water would be a couple hundred feet. That's nowhere near touching 29,000 feet. And let's say it did flood that high. The animals would die from lack of oxygen, because once you go above like 25,000 feet, you actually need artificial oxygen mask to breathe. And the fairy tale stories of Noah's Ark don't stop there. There's talking burning bushes, there's talking snakes, people walking on water. And then you have the historically inaccurate accounts of the Jews actually being slaves in Egypt, which never happened. There's no proof whatsoever. Despite me still liking The Prince of Egypt as a good children's movie, there's no proof whatsoever that the Jews or the Israelites were ever put into slavery by Egyptians. The Bible said that there was around 2 million Jews who left Egypt in the Exodus to Israel, and the total Egyptian population in total was about 3.5 to 4 million people at this time. And the history of Egypt, because the Egyptians even, 1,000 years ago documented a lot of their history. So we know a lot about the Egyptians. And for them to lose abruptly half their population like that, they would have said something about it. And there's no writings, no recordings, no nothing about it, except for in the Bible. But and then basically this guy named Moses, who parted seas with his hands, led this group of 2 million people a distance which would be, and also the distance that Moses and his band of about 2 million people traveled was about a couple hundred miles. So from Egypt, current modern day Egypt, to Israel, or in the Bible it says Canaan, would be a couple hundred miles, which for it to take 40 years to travel, even if you take the long way, even if you go around the peninsula, that might be 1,000-something miles. It wouldn't take you 40 years to travel that distance. You can walk the circumference of the earth numerous times, walking at average speed for like 7-8 hours a day. But even after saying all this, this is America. You can believe in whatever nonsense you choose. You can believe that a man named Muhammad flew into the clouds on a winged horse. You can believe wearing magic underwear will protect you from bullets and other kinds of danger. You can believe that 100 trillion years ago, an alien emperor named Xenu depopulated galaxies and put the souls, or thetans, into Earth's volcanoes. And every time a living organism is born, the thetans are ejaculated out of these volcanoes and put into that person. You can believe any of this just as much as a 5-year-old has the right to believe in an overweight old man that flies to every house on the planet and fists through chimneys to give everyone presents he made from his toy factory ran by elves in the North Pole. You can believe that. Hey, it's America. You have freedom of religion, freedom of beliefs, or freedom of non-religion. But since none of this is since the Bible is not historically or scientifically true, then it goes in the fiction setting. When I was a library helper in high school for 2 years, and when I would put books back on the shelf, religious books written in religious fiction. But because this was a library and has a lot more books with a lot more variety, they categorize stuff a lot more to be a lot more specific. But since this is a department store that might just only have it non-fiction and fiction, then yeah, a book that has 7-headed dragons and talking animals will go in the fiction setting, along with Harry Potter, along with the Chronicles of Narnia, along with any other book that has stuff that is not true. That's just the definition of fiction. And, I know this pastor said that he's not really upset, but I was sort of shocked that so many people in this country couldn't believe that a department store put a fairy tale book and label it correctly, and just because they believe that it's true, that everyone else should just believe that it's true, and everything that happens in it is true. And in closing, I think that what he said about having people, you know, open up a conversation about the Bible. And I agree with them. I think people should discuss stuff and shouldn't be scared to talk about stuff like that. You know, I think every person should read the Bible. Every Christian should read the Bible and, you know, tell me what they think about it. Because, you know, one of the main ways you become an atheist is reading the Bible. But, hey, that's all I gotta say. Thanks for watching. Subscribe, like, comment, and have a nice day.